You may be familiar with the group of disabled Army veterans who, over the last month, have been kayaking from Land's End to John O Groats.
It was an amazing endurance challenge to raise money for the military charity that has helped them with rehabilitation. We're pleased to say they have completed the journey 10 days ahead of schedule. Breakfast John Maguire has been following the group right from the start.
When they started this odyssey, they had no idea if it would be possible. Could a team of 5 military veterans, all with life-changing injuries, paddle in two-man kayaks from Land's End to John O Groats? It would be not just a group challenge, but also a series of individual challenges.
We've all been through similar experiences in life. I stepped in an IED, damaged my left leg. You know, we've all been through different levels of trauma. But when I got involved in this, I was like, it sounds crazy, it sounds horrific. I'm not comfortable out at sea, but I'll give it a go. You know, it's all about pushing your comfort zone, you know, really testing yourself.
I focus my time on supporting others as my way of getting what I want from it, and that seems to work for me personally. So I get a lot of benefit from actually helping others. That helps me.
Stacked against them, the distance, 1,400 kilometres, the weather and conditions, seasickness and strong headwinds were early problems, and their physical limitations. For some, blast injuries to their limbs sustained during their military service. And for Darren, paralysed from the chest down after a climbing accident, he had to learn to adapt quickly.
I felt like I was back running or in the mountains and really pushing myself. And I actually got quite sort of emotional when I reflected on what had happened, because in 4.5 years I'd not had that. I was so in the zone and in the moment that I kind of forgot where I was and what I was doing, and the fact that I am, you know, disabled, so to speak. But at the end of the day, when I was sort of like, you know, just sort of thinking about what had happened, I realised the enormity of it then, and I think that will remain the highlight for me.
Sometimes completing 10-hour days and more than 90 kilometres, their paddles seemed like wings. They were flying. Out at sea, they earned an escort from fellow water dwellers. We last saw them off the west coast of Scotland, tired but well into their stride.
The really difficult side has been the kind of mental side, the psychological side. So, you know, being away from family, being away from my wife, and being away from my son, essentially, you know, is 6 months.
6 months old.
He's 6 months old. So Wilf, I spend my evenings looking at photos of him, looking at videos of him. Kind of heartbreaking in a way. But then I'm looking at the bigger picture for this. What we're doing, what we're aiming to achieve is, you know, it's absolutely incredible.
We've hit some conditions where we've had to basically abandon paddle for the day. You're spending quite a lot of, you know, time in quite tight confines with this lot. So, you know, it's just, you know, just continuance of terrible chat, basically. But no, you know, like, morale's really high, keeping each other entertained and everything like that. And no, it's been really good. And like, we've, you know, everyone's kept everyone else's spirits high and such. So no, it's been going really well.
And finally, the finish line was in sight. After 21 days on the water, they reached John O Groats. They'd done it.
Definitely my injuries physically I've struggled with. You know, my left arm has been in tatters for definitely the last few days, but it's been struggled for quite a few days before then. I had some down days, some days where I felt a little bit out of my comfort zone. But the next day came and I sort of pushed on, and it felt pretty cool. And now we're here, and yeah, it's a bit overwhelming actually. It's a pretty cool achievement. Really chuffed with how well we've done and how strong we've finished.
So far, they've raised more than 60% of their £100,000 target. The money will go to the Armed Forces Para-Snowsports Team, the charity that's helped all of them. And in the meantime, proving to themselves and to everyone that despite physical limitations, sheer determination can mean there are no limits. John Maguire, BBC News.
And there is nothing better than reaching that finish line when it's just been such hard work. We're joined now by two of those military veterans, Darren Edwards and Carl Simmons. You saw them both in that report we saw earlier. Good morning to you both. Carl, good morning.
Good morning, Naga.
How are you doing? And Darren, hello to you as well. Now, look, one of the things that's always really interesting, when you've done a team event like that, and then you all you miss family, as we heard in the report there, but then you kind of end up missing each other as well. So it must be quite nice just sitting next to each other and seeing each other again after that.
I think probably me and Carl share the same opinion on this. It's weird that for the last year we've seen each other more than we've seen our friends and family, you know, due to COVID. So in a way, this last year we became a family, as cliched as that sounds. So when we finished the next day and we all kind of went about our own kind of like journeys back to our respective homes, to not know that in a month's time or in a week's time that we'd see each other again was kind of weird. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, really.
And also, I've got to ask, how lovely was it seeing your families again?
Yes, it's great to get back to some kind of normality after living in each other's pockets for a month.
OK, so Carl, on that theme, yeah, can I just ask, on that theme, congratulations, by the way, it's Charlie here. It's an amazing, it's a given. What you've done is incredible, and everyone can see that, and the money raised is going to go to a great cause. I'm going to ask the really silly stuff. The bickering in the boats. What was that like? Who was the most annoying boat partner? One of your colleagues, I think, said at one point, the boredom. Hours and hours of terrible chat.
That was Johnny. That was definitely Johnny that said that, I think. So something that we found, because obviously we were living, eating, sleeping, kayaking, repeating for 26 days on top of each other. And there were some quite tense moments. There were moments where conditions changed for the worse, and moments where, you know, the safety boat that was there for our safety was in a kind of scenario where it wasn't guaranteed that we'd get out of the scenario that we found ourselves in. So tensions got really high in moments like that. And I think, you know, we all had our good days, our bad days, our days where we were nervous, you know, especially the first couple of days for me in particular. So there were moments, I think, where, you know, tensions were high and perhaps, you know, there was sort of added friction. But I think generally speaking, we as a team kind of pulled each other through it. So when, for me in particular, the first couple of days were really challenging, you know, just from an injury point of view for me. But the guys sort of pulled me through that. And, you know, Carl, for you, I guess?
So for me, it was probably a bit later on, as the sort of my nerves and my spine and that weren't particularly happy with the paddling. So it was more a case of then just learning to sort of say, I need to step back a bit, or I can push here, or, you know, and I think that's the same for everyone, rotating round and just working out when things are going to work for you or not. And as a team, we've managed to sort of balance that out. So, you know, it's worked really well.
I know, Carl, from previous experience, and it often is something we find with service people, your ability for understatement is top dollar. And when you say, what did your phrase was, my spine wasn't very happy. I'm thinking you were you must have been in quite a bit of distress at times.
Yeah, I suppose I was in a pain a few times, and if I got quite a lot of pain, then my right shoulder didn't seem. I lost a lot of power. So even though we might say it's, I don't know, a little bit of pain or whatever it is, you can't really hide the fact that you can't use as much power on one side as you can the other. So it's not something we're able to hide as a team. But I suppose none of us wants to sort of indicate that, you know, we're having a moment of weakness or we can't cope with something. So we try and just make it that it's all right, really, I guess.
You know, as Charlie said, very understated indeed, but we absolutely appreciate what you've been doing. And isn't it great you came back in the sunshine, didn't have that heat wave? I know you had good weather, but it is great.
I'm just thinking as well, gentlemen, I think there's a boat right next to you there. You fancy jumping in a bit more? You've only done, what is it, was it 21 days? Could hop in.
Yeah, well, we were 10 days ahead of schedule in the end, but
there you go.
I'm pretty glad that we're not out in 29-degree heat. We had some really good weather, but it kind of sat in that middle ground temperature-wise. So there was never kind of, you know, heat exhaustion was probably one thing, if any, that wasn't really an issue for us. There were
thank goodness.
Obviously lots of challenges and issues, but heat wasn't one of them.
Darren Edwards, Carl Simmons, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and it's been a real privilege to for you allowing us to be part of your journey as well. And congratulations. We're going to show the Just Giving page now, because this is what it's all about, raising money. Of course, this is the Kayak for Heroes team. And at the moment, the target's what the target I think was 100. Aim of raising £100,000 for the Armed Forces Para-Snowsports Team, and now 57,000. So well done, halfway there, more than halfway there.
Thank you.
Thank you
both.
both.
Lovely to see you both. Thank you very much.
Interesting talking about the weather, and yeah, absolutely. Who wants to be doing that in the middle of a heat wave? Well, we're in the